Hello everyone. I would like to welcome you all, the young people from the 13 regions who are in the hall, and those who were unable to access the hall. To all the young people from Africa who came to accompany the youth of Burkina Faso, welcome to the land of the people with integrity. I pay vibrant tribute to our clairvoyant defense and security forces and our clairvoyant VDP who fight day and night so that Burkina Faso can be and stand strong. I wish that we take a minute to pray for those on the ground and also for the repose of the souls of those who have fallen for our homeland. Thank you. Let us give thanks to God who has allowed us to find ourselves here today on the occasion of the celebration of International Youth Day. In good health, youth of Burkina Faso, youth of Africa, youth, this phase of your life where one has enough strength, enough energy. Youth is the time where we don't have enough time. We have to take advantage of the time we are given. Use the energy needed to achieve our goals, to change the world, change our world, change the world of others positively. Children wish to grow up to be young. Old people wish to become young again. Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing. So take advantage of your youth to do good, to be useful. That is why when I see in the chosen term the first two words, we call for integrations, security. Africa faces many security challenges, and we must ask ourselves questions. Is youth an asset or handicap for the development of the nation? The answer is simple and without ambiguous. And you know, the most developed countries has an aging population, and currently, many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their populations. Africa has the opportunity to have a very young population, but why is Africa not developed? We must think about these questions to understand why Africa have a young population but is not developed, and that the countries which call themselves developed are therefore seeking to rejuvenate their populations. We can therefore transform our youth into a real asset and a driving force for development of our continent. And to do this, we need integration. We need security, development. We need to unite. Certainly, you will hear about African Union. Yes, it exists. But what is the effect of African Union in reality? We do not want to talk about integration in the team and not talk about African Union, because it is this organization that should unite us, create real integration. But we regret to see these wars which persist on the African continent, that kills millions of young people, and that this organization, which the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain country. A union is not just a word. A union is a symbol. And our youths should learn a lesson from these situations to unite us and integrate in reality. I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is home to the headquarters of the African Union, was experiencing a conflict. And when I saw the Prime Minister put a communique and announce the closure of a university in Addis Ababa to deal with the threat, I did not see the action of the African Union to protect this search. Western states, from the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall. They took their baggage and leave. Ethiopia fought to find an internal solution and live more in peace today. The children of Congo are dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as Sudan, have existed on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the forces and all the strategies necessary to support these states so that it can find peace. For almost 10 years, the Sahel is the theater of international terrorism, but we do not see any support from this organization to find a solution to this problem. Worst of all, a few days ago, a foreign country outside Africa openly announced it supported and participated in a cowardly, barbaric, terrorist attacks against the force of our confederation in Tizawaten. The African Union do not say a word to condemn this interference by a state outside Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I hope they are listening and they therefore come out of their silence and take action so that young people can believe in African Union. We need to unite, and the only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity. There are three words, three great words that must be banished from our behavior and our lives. I speak of coward, treachery, and incompetence. We must banish these three words from our way of life. I am going to explain to you why. Cowards covers a lot of words. A coward is always afraid, and when one is afraid, one becomes a slave. We bend, we lick their butts. Our ancestors were not cowards, and if we let go, our children will ask us questions. Imagine that in Burkina Faso, we refuse to fight, and we agree to submit to live as slaves tomorrow. Our children will grow up. They will ask themselves questions. Were our parents cowards to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we are going to feel it. Cowards are afraid. And the imperialists understood. They tried to scare the leaders so that you are a coward. Because when you are a coward, all the fears can be born. They do everything so that we are afraid. They come to our palace. They threaten us directly, or with threats. Of course, we respond as it should be. They take examples each time. They tell us, you know, Thomas Sankara tried to do like that, but where is he? He died. The president of Haiti tried to do like that. Where is he? He is dead. Gaddafi tried to do like that. Where is he? He is dead. These are the words we hear in a cunning manner to scare us. And worst, we also often see some young people trying to follow suit. In another way, we can hear them say, which person has reigned here, so he has the country? Which person has reigned here, so he is in prison? All this to try to scare us, so that we become cowards. But I think they have not understood something. When we say the fatherland or death, we will conquer. It is not just a sentence. It makes perfect sense. We are not afraid, and we will never be afraid. We will continue. They have certainly scared many African heads of state. You often see when we express ourselves or when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad, we often make statements to challenge Africans' heads of states so that we wake up and take care of our youth so that we can begin our real independence. We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly reposted about our proposals because they feel the index. But I can assure you, the youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors, these same head of states tell us, you are on the right track. This is what must be done so that Africa can get out of it. So, we ask them questions about why you have not done like us. Why don't you accompany us? Some tell us that they have the mind, and some tell us they cannot. Dear elders, African head of states, from the top of this platform, so I would like to say that African people are the most pacific. When you recognize a wrong, you must tell the people that let's not be afraid tomorrow to go out and tell the people, we apologize, we were compromised, we have ill-gotten gains, we have been squeezed by several things, and that we asked for forgiveness, and let's get back on track and start working. And start working for real independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think that it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowards and history will judge us. Our children will ask us questions. Our grandchildren will ask us questions. We are writing history. There is no room for cowards. If our ancestors had been cowards, we would not be here. Remember, I take an example of the Bamileke and the Bassa people. I want to talk about the Cameroonians. The Union of the People of Cameroon, which since the 50s has begun a relentless struggle against the colonialists. But they were massacred. The French colonial armies at that time poured a battalion of infantry. Tanks and helicopters wiped out entire village. With the most inhumane torture that took place during that period. You can do research on what they call balançoire or the Bakassivang. Hundreds of thousands of population have been disseminated in this way in Africa because they dared to ask the colonialists to leave their land, which resulted in civil war that lasted several years. That is to tell you, people dare to face with bare hands the imperialists. For us to be here, there is no reason why we cannot confront the imperialists so that our future generation can live. There are many examples across Africa of courageous men who refuse to be cowards, who fought, who faced them. Let's be worthy of these men. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them. A coward cannot be worthy. Let us not be a coward, African youth, because a coward is always a traitor. And that comes from trying to scare us into being cowards. And if we are cowards, then we are betrayers. We must banish traitors from our habits. Africans were traitors for slave trade to succeed in Africa. It is because Africans were traitors that colonization was able to hold in Africa. Question history, we will see. Patrice Lumumba was betrayed because he dared to stand up. And these same Belgian televisions came to Congo for a few bi-weekly individual talks in Congo for an interview to satisfy their populations. You could see this. Lumumba is disturbing us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes fall so that we are here today. And it is an imperialism technique to scare others by taking action to actually creating terror. It did not start today. I will give you an example of a warrior who fought, Victor Byakabuda. Read, you will understand. He comes from a family of chiefs, not of the chieftaincy given by the colonialists. He was a wealthy child. He studied in Senegal. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he joined Ivory Coast to lead the fight against the imperialists, against the invaders, against the colonialists. He tried to organize Ivorian society. Everywhere people started to carry the voice. There was in his time General Pichot, who had massacred Ivorian populations, so that this spirit of freedom can never be germinated. He continues his fight alongside Félix Houphouët-Boigny. They fought, but the most violent was Victor Byakabuda. He represented a threat to imperialists. In addition to massacring the people who demonstrated, one evening, they killed him in a horrible way next to Boafle. A few hours later, when the people of Timbuktu heard the assassination, they marched, they demonstrated, they were massacred by the colonial armies. History doesn't hide, the facts are there. After his death, which scared Félix Houphouët-Boigny, they called him and said, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate. He was afraid and he relied on imperialists. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reign of Ivory Coast. And they used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voice. And I think that Thomas Sankara is a beautiful example. If you are afraid, you will be coward and you will be traitors. Never be afraid. The fight must continue. There are many other examples around the world. And they have this phenomenon that they have used for a very long time. And they have continued to use it. You see some individuals, for example, they are found in other countries and supposedly created a parallel government to the government of Mali. You have heard this story. It is just a technique that existed in time. I will take the example of Hamed Shalabi from Iraq. This mathematics professor who was in Iraqi government was taken over by the imperialists, and he formed this resemblance of a parallel government in Iraq in the United States. And he was used to be the sacrificial sheep because he was the one who was told to publicly state Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction, and he did it. They used him, and Taliban was used to kill millions of children in Iraq and destroy Iraq. And you know what happened to Shalabi? One evening, after an interview, in the interview, he even said that he knows that CIA is on his back. A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dying of cardiac arrest. If you betrayed, you will have a miserable end. It's a sign. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you, and when it's finished using you, He does with you what he wants. Follow my guidance, you will understand what I am talking about. It have always been like that. The third word is incompetence. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they have used to destroy African companies. In our administration, there are many incompetents. Let's face it. The incompetent have plenty of rooms next to imperialists because the incompetent can ruin the development of a country. The incompetent can bring you to doubt. The incompetent like easy things. The incompetent like everything for them alone. The incompetent do not like those who are competent. He does not like those who innovate, those who search. The incompetent are dangerous. When you are enlightened, the incompetent does not like you. When you want to innovate, the incompetent does not like. The incompetent recognizes the one who is competent, and he will fight him until his last breath because he is afraid of the one who is competent. Seek for knowledge. Seek for knowledge and work hard to be competent. Banish incompetence because through the distraction that they want to make us adopt, we become incompetent. I will take one example. Social media are places where information is published. Today, people get information through the internet and many things. A young person who publishes an article on social media about his farm or agricultural project or a scientific project. I am young. I know the terms. It may not have 1,000 views. But a young person who posts about trivialities has 1 million views. Just to make you waste time on trivialities. Be conscious. Let us be interested in work and seek knowledge. Let us seek the skills. Having fun is good, but we must work first before distracting ourselves. Seek knowledge, otherwise you will waste time doing nothing, and youth is the time. It is the period when one must exploit his time to his advantage. The imperialists know it. That is why they will multiply everything that is a distraction. They will multiply everything that is an event that can distract you from the work, so that you are incompetent. And right now, when you are asleep, we choose the incompetent to want everything. That is an important structure, and you have no choice but to comply. Let us not be incompetent. Let us seek knowledge. The incompetent hide often behind words. They use the terms of democracy and freedom without realizing what it is. Comrades, democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind. It's supposedly democratic, but look at the world. How can we want to impose democracy by killing millions of people? It is dictatorship. That is not democracy. It is not imposed. Those who call themselves Democrat. But look, we have seen scenes where people have been prevented from entering assemblies. We have seen scenes where forces have landed in assemblies to force deputies to pass a text. We have seen more terrible scenes where people killed their protesters, but they are called Democrats, and we are therefore called putschists. If this is democracy, I repeat, we do not want this democracy. And when you often see the incompetent ones, They do not seek to know what is the meaning of the word democracy in reality. He just clings to the definition that the imperialists gave him, and he starts talking about democracy without really knowing the foundation. That is incompetence. You have to seek to know, have the knowledge, look the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. The incompetents hide behind freedom. Remember one thing, there is no individual freedom that exists. It is facts. You really think everyone is free? Freedom is collective as long as we live in a society with rules. Freedom is collective because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in the society. If you are free to speak as you want, the other is also free to answer as he wants. It will be a mess. If you are free to drive on the streets and run red lights as you wish, the other is free to pass through and hit you. Understand, if individual freedom takes over, we are in a society of disorder. That is why there are rules in society, and the rules everyone must respect. And here we are talking about collective freedom. So some people give themselves the right to talk about their individual freedom, but not taking into account the others. I think that is also part of the incompetence because he does not seek to understand. He arrogates to himself the right that perhaps the state gave them to serve and do everything for them, neglecting the freedom of others. No, freedom is collective. Before doing something, we think of the freedom of others, and we must not transcend the freedom of others. So that means we must have reserved. And when we have reserved, individual freedom does not exist. Freedom is collective, and we must have this culture of collective freedom. Let us therefore seek knowledge. Let us read. Let us question history. Don't read history written in their favor. Seek knowledge across several sources, and you will understand the story of who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our predecessors. I will not end my remarks without making another strong point, still in the communication section, because as I say, it is a fatal weapon of imperialism, and you young people must do everything to know how to distinguish the truth from the lies. We will continue to dismantle the lies of the imperialist media, which always try to create problems for Africa, because this media, through their mouth, he can make you a king tomorrow. By their mouth, he can make you to be removed from your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. Pay attention. I was unfortunately watching a Burkinabe show not long ago, where a young journalist came out with a sentence that left me a little perplexed. He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, "But they are starving in North Korea." Did he take the trouble to go to North Korea to investigate to really see if they die of hunger? That is the idea that the imperialist media has sold about North Korea. North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because this media tell us North Korea is dictatorship, people die of hunger, they are poor, they have nothing, we accept it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they get it? Let's be careful with communications. Don't follow it in a blind way. This lying media who only seeks to divide Africa. It is logical. They are fighting for the interests of their people, and the interest of their people is that Africa should be divided. So, youth of Burkina Faso, youth of Africa, we must unite. We must banish cowards. We must banish incompetence. We must banish betrayer. and all the fear in our societies. I invite you to go and read, to get to work, so that the Africa we want, self-sufficient, should be a reality, so that the Africa we want for harmonious development is a reality. Because I am coming back to your team. There is no peace and security without development. The two goes together. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, young people will inevitably find themselves in fear, and there will be no security. If there is no security also, there is no development. So both must go together. Let's integrate this into our fight so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our materials on site so that it is beneficial to our population. And we can also desire to export this. The homeland or death we are going to conquer. Africa, wake up. Africa, rise up. Africa without borders. Africa, continental free trade area. The time is now. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.